Verbal roll call will continue to be performed by our wonderful clerk of the board, Suhel Rodriguez. Suhel, please call roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair Edson.
Present.
Vice Chair Bat Patel.
Here.
Board Member Martinez.
Here.
Board Member Hinsey.
Here.
Board Member Garcia.
Here.
Board Member Robinson.
Here.
Board Member Desmond. Board Member Jenkins.
Here.
Board Member Contreras.
Present.
Board Member Lee. This completes the roll with Desmond and Lee absent.
Thank you very much. Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. Board Member Hensey, would you please lead us? Where is it?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Suhel, please provide a safety brief and review evacuation procedures.
Thank you. In case of emergency, I will dial 911. In case of evacuation, please take the stairs. Do not use the elevators. Once clear to the building, do not re-enter unless cleared to do so by emergency personnel. There are fire extinguishers and first aid kits on each floor of this building. There's a portable defibrillator on the first floor and staff on hand trained on CPR procedures if needed. This concludes my safety brief.
Thank you very much. Suhel, are there any changes to today's agenda?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And do we have any non-agenda public comments today?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do. We did receive 2 general public comments that were sent to the board prior to the meeting and posted on our website for public inspection. We also additionally have 7 public speakers here in person to speak on general public comment.
Thank you very much. I will call the speakers. The first one is anonymous.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Some of you do know me. I registered as anonymous. And this is very difficult for me. I registered as anonymous because I've been going through a very difficult time. I am an injured worker. I have been suffering from depression due to my working conditions and status of my injury. The manager directly responsible for my injury was promoted. Another manager that derailed the train was promoted. And now I'm served with a notice of investigation, although I am off on work comp, waiting for a procedure so that I can come back to work full duty. My injury has been 2 years. It occurred 2 years ago. I humbly come before this board to ask for fair working rules for Coaster. We don't have fair working rules. The employee handbook doesn't meet criteria for the railroad. The CFRs are not followed during an investigation. I am in fear of my job and losing my job. It does mean a lot to me. But I come before you because if it is termination, I just ask for due process. Thank you. I yield back.
Our next speaker is Jane Marshall.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jane Marshall, and I'm the current president of the Oceanside Coastal Neighborhood Association, otherwise known as OCNA. We are a very active neighborhood group that surrounds the Oceanside Transit Center and have been involved in neighborhood and civic activities for nearly 25 years. With that, I'd like to read the letter that we sent to the clerk for distribution today about some concerns we have about the project that is on the OTC current land. So regarding the NCTD's recent submittal of the environmental draft report, it is insufficient in its analysis, and many of the negative impacts affect our neighborhoods. OCNA is reviewing the document, but has found major unmitigated impacts to our neighbors, especially south of the project. Our board has proactively tried to discuss these concerns with North County Transit District, even coordinated meetings with city staff for several years now, and all efforts from North County Transit District seem to have fallen on deaf ears. The key issues that we have are that the Coastal Commission has approved the Coast Highway Corridor Plan, and it would prohibit any kind of bus routing going south on Missouri south on Coast Highway because of bump outs and different medians that they already have approved. Secondly, the northbound buses won't make it around the anticipated traffic circle that's planned at Michigan. So right now, there's an actual turning lane and light signals already set up at Seagaze Drive that accommodate all of this, and we're asking that that be maintained rather than rerouting them through neighborhoods that affect not only the pedestrian safety, but also the many, many cyclists and now many kids on e-bikes. We understand that the traffic analysis is not quite complete and that there are safety impacts with that, not only just with pedestrians and bicyclists. This is a major neighborhood parking area, and it will affect the availability of people to be able to park fully on those streets, as well as businesses like Ace Hardware, local Tap House, some of those. Some of the other things that we have is that you have EVs for like 700 spaces. And you know, how many people have EVs? Not that many. All in all, we have concerns about the traffic, the noise, and the congestion, all caused by moving the bus station south along Missouri, rather than keeping it up on Seagaze, where it has been all built around. We'd appreciate it if you consider keeping it that way. Thank you.
Next speaker is Diane Nygaard.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. Diane Nygaard, representing Preserve Calavera. We're a North County conservation group, but we realized about 15 years ago, if we don't care about climate change, all of our conservation work would become meaningless. The Oceanside Transit Center project is exactly the kind of project we would like to fully embrace. Smart growth site in an urbanized area, a major transit hub. It could really be the example for how to do smart growth right. But unfortunately, the project falls short of that. We would ask you to direct your development team to make a few changes that would make this project one that really sets a standard for sustainability. 4 key things. First, a proper greenhouse gas emissions analysis. Oceanside is the lead agency for this, and they assume that if a project complies with their climate action plan checklist, then it has addressed its greenhouse gas emissions. This project does not comply with the checklist. It needs to do further analysis of greenhouse gases. Secondly, optimize building electrification. This project is still using a high amount of natural gas, including for over 400 fireplaces in these luxury apartments. That is really a luxury for this year. This is not moving us the direction we need to be, especially now that we've embraced community choice energy. Building electrification costs less to construct, it's safer, better air quality, and it reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Third, require all the land uses on site to be part of a coordinated transportation demand management plan to reduce the auto trips to and from this site. That should include simple things like striping the bicycle lanes on the access roads, supporting continuation of the Go Side shuttle in the downtown area of Oceanside, and a serious look at things like unbundled parking that by itself has been shown to reduce trips up to 10%. And lastly, require the hotel to meet industry standards for sustainability. Things like you don't have to change your sheets every day. There are basic industry practices, but they need to be a requirement that's placed on the project. So we think with a few changes, this project can become one that our region will really be proud of, that will move us, be part of the solution of climate change and not part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chiwa Slater.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I also represent the Sierra Club on basically the same matter as Diane has just spoken on. But my concern is one of those specific points, which is the 492 gas-burning fireplaces that we have read are going to be installed in those dwellings. Looking around here, I don't see any evil people, and so I'm quite sure that the only reason for this must be that it is hard to take in the impact that gas-burning fireplaces can have on our local climate and on climate around the world for that matter, because we all do live in one fishbowl. We have a wood-burning fireplace where I live. We don't use it because we know that the gas, if you burn wood, it puts out methane into the atmosphere, and that thickens the greenhouse layer, which keeps the heat in, and it's getting warmer and warmer all around. We haven't been experiencing that too much here at this point, but that's not to say that we won't. And the effects of it affect people all around the globe, not just here. So when we put in fireplaces that burn gas here, it has an effect far
keeps
beyond
dropping
what
offline, so they can't send the new config to
it would be one thing if methane were twice as bad as carbon dioxide for heating up the earth. But it's not twice as bad, it's not 10 times as bad, it's not 20 or 50 times as bad. In the 10 years following emission of the methane, it's 80 times as bad in terms of the effect on keeping the heat locked in. That's a lot, 80 times. It's hard to even grasp that number. What does that mean? 80 times as bad. That's really bad. So forth. The first 10 years are the years that we need to be concerned about, because these are the years during which we are going to either succeed or fail in mitigating climate change enough so that life can survive on this planet. I know you don't want your children and grandchildren to grow up and die of heat stroke or of starvation because the earth is so hot that crops can't be grown to feed our population. And that's why we need electrification in these buildings, not natural gas. The proposed NCTD development moves us in the wrong direction.
Ms. Slater,
Please.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Diane Allen.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am with the Oceanside Climate Action Plan group that helped get that passed at the City Council. And I think this is a great project. It's exciting, right? It's a huge project. And Oceanside is getting a lot of recognition for, all the new resorts on the beach and so forth. So we're bringing in a lot of international people that are used to public transportation. So it's a great opportunity to get that promoted locally as well, and to get the, the tourists brought in, but also There is a new mindful awareness worldwide that has to do with energy consumption and producing that energy. And so as I read about this project, I see that it is not compliant with the Oceanside Climate Action Plan, which is, has to do with the CARB's 2022 scoping plan. And as I read down through those requirements, it's very clear that the place that this project is that it also needs to additionally meet one of these two ways. It either needs to meet 50% of the estimated electricity demand with on-site renewable emissions-free energy supply, or purchase an energy portfolio comprised of at least 75% renewable emissions-free electricity, and this project does not do that. So that violates the city's renewable energy requirement. And I think that even though that seems like, okay, that's a local issue, I think that it's going to be noticed internationally. There is a global mindset now to comply with renewable energy requirements. In addition, not installing solar panels, the 2022 California Building Energy Efficiency Standards requires the system to offset the annual electrical consumption of a mixed fuel building by approximately 80%. So if you'll just look at those requirements, the gas house analysis and mitigation, this all needs to be reviewed, and it's not a huge change to the project. It's just some minor tweaks that need to be done, and I think that the transit service needs that attention and deserves that additional look and the details to be involved to level it up to what the global community is looking at for travel and resources and transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Cindy Davenport.
Good afternoon. I'm a 16-year Oceanside resident, and I must say that this project, being transit-oriented and close to a smart growth idea, is encouraging. I think, however, we should always keep in mind an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so I think going for best practices in fighting climate change is really the way to go. The community would be much more supportive and excited if steps are taken to really protect our community, to protect our air and water, and also to create good jobs at the same time. So part of the transit-oriented direct development could include, or should be considering, the first and last mile challenge of transit. So electric shuttles could solve the problem fairly easily. There is some experience with that here in Oceanside. And also do highly recommend that this project follow the Oceanside Climate Action Plan consistency checklist. And installing solar is pretty much a no-brainer. It pays you back pretty quickly. And I think most residents would have admiration for a good use of public funds, et cetera, to make sure that there's not a drag on the economy in the future to pay for energy when it could have come for free from solar. So it's a smart thing to do. Please do that. Also follow the state energy code regarding solar as well. And also, yeah, the 492 gas fireplaces are a big concern. I mean, just think of it, you're in a transit area where unfortunately the trains are not electric, the buses are not electric. The cars coming and parking are mostly not electric. And then you're adding emissions from both gas and wood burning fireplaces. And, you know, just think of the concentration of pollution right at the transit center. And so again, an ounce of prevention. You can prevent illness, you can prevent bad negative publicity about this project. So lastly, it's such a big project. Please involve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jolene Smith.
Good afternoon. I'm Jolene Smith. I'm with the Oceanside Sierra Club and the Climate Action Plan team. And there's just a few things I'd like to say about the actual transit plaza, if it could be made bigger. It seems like a minor part right now of the whole development. And also need to prioritize pedestrians and cyclists in the project. As I understand, it's still very car-centric, and somebody trying to get to the transit center, it's not going to be that easy if they are walking there and or you know trying to ride their bike. And also, I'm asking to have the landscaping, if they could use all native California plants, that would also help too. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That completes our speakers. If there have not been any more speaker slips.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Thank you all for expressing your concerns over the environment. I think we all care about that. And I hope that you'll be also speaking with the Oceanside City Council and the Toll Brothers developers. Before we proceed, I'd like to share a couple of quick protocol items. Board members, please hold your comments and questions until after each agenda item has been presented. Next, when the time comes for board member questions or comments, please raise your hand, turn on your microphone, and wait until you're called upon to speak. This will ensure that your comments are heard by those listening to our meeting online. Finally, please use the fancy device in front of you to vote. Instructions for using the device are also on a card in front of you, this thing. Everybody got that one? Yeah? Okay, good. Our first item is approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held July 18th, 2024?
Contreras moves approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Contreras, second by
Jenkins.
Please vote. Did it work?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
On the motion of Board Member Contreras, seconded by Board Member Jenkins, to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting on July 18th, Board Member Hensy abstains.
Thank you. Next, may I have a motion to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting held October 17th, 2024?
So moved.
Second, Contreras.
Motion by Patel, second by Contreras. Please vote.
Board Member Martinez? Thank you. On the motion of Vice Chair Bob Patel, seconded by Board Member Contreras, to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting on October 17, 2024, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And thank you, everyone, for playing with our new devices. The break-in time on technology, right? We have 13 items on the consent agenda for action today. Suhel, have any members of the public requested that any consent items be pulled?
No, Madam Chair.
At this time, public registration to speak on consent items has ended. With regard to consent items 12 and 13, please look for and complete your commission, preference, and board leadership interest forms by December 1st. Suhail will be emailing these forms to board members today. They're due back to Suhail by December 1st. Please keep that in mind. Do any board members wish to pull any items from consent? Seeing none. May I have a motion to approve consents, items 1 through 13?
So moved. This is Lindsay. Martinez, second.
Motion by Hensy, second by Martinez. Please vote.
Thank you. On the motion of Board Member Hensy, seconded by Board Member Martinez to approve consent items 1 through 13, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There are
Madam
no.
Chair,
Yes.
I noticed on the list it says my alternate, the mayor. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but it seems like I'm voting for him.
We'll make sure we correct it in the minutes.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. There are 2 other business items on today's agenda. The first is related to procurement activity necessary for insourcing of bus operations. Nick Sofel, NCTD Director of Strategic Planning and Transit Systems, is here to present this item. Welcome, Nick. You have our attention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Edson and members of the NCTD Board. My name is Nick Solful. I'm the Director of Strategic Planning for NCTD, and I'm also serving as the Project Manager for our bus insourcing effort. I'll discuss a little bit about this item. I want to go right into the background. So as everyone on the board is probably aware, we have a contract with MV Transportation. MV Transportation provides services that supports our bus operations, our breeze ops, our demand response operations, which is Lyft, Flex, and now NCTD Plus. They perform revenue and non-vehicle revenue maintenance, as well as bus facility maintenance. And so within that contract is all of the services needed and materials, as well as 466 positions that support all that effort for NCTD. The agreement was initially approved back in 2017 on a 7-year term with 3 one-year options. And that was approved by the board back in December 15th of 2022. So going back a little bit, the board made a big decision, and we thank them for the guidance of moving to insource the bus operations, and bringing that service back in-house. We provided notice to MV Transportation back a couple of weeks ago on November 12th that their contracted services would end at the conclusion of fiscal year 25. So the last day of their contract would be June 30th of 2025. So that's coming up about a little more than 7 months from now. So that's kind of the genesis for this particular item. So as a part of our efforts to insource, we've identified many things that we need to procure. So we have over 35 procurements that have been identified. These are common items needed for bus operations, mostly in the maintenance side. So things like making sure we have contracts for bus parts, fluids and lubricants, oil, tires, towing, safety equipment, maintenance of lifts, maintenance of the bus wash. So these are all items that we currently purchase via the MV contract. So all of these things, we have these services, but the contract is not directly through us. The contract is through MV Transportation. So we need to make the process now of moving those from being an MV contract to being an NCTD contract. And so that's essentially what we need to do. And we need to do it in a fairly short time frame. Uniforms, insurance, computers, and software are other examples of materials and items that we need to move insourcing forward so that we can begin our service on July 1st. The procurement strategy, first, we're going to leverage our existing contracts. So we have existing service contracts, particularly those in our rail operations division. Things like fluids and lubricants and things like uniforms. We already have contracts for a lot of those things. So we actually can leverage some of those existing service contracts for bus operations. And so that's part of what we're planning on doing, getting some of those services up and running. We're going to use cooperative agreements where we have the possibility of leveraging multiple agency volume, and we can streamline the purchase of services. So we're going to be utilizing co-ops whenever possible to be able to get those services in line and ready to roll. And then we're also prioritizing all of our purchasing needs around the mobilization timeline. So some of these items that we need to purchase, let's say software, for instance, for maintenance work orders and to maintain storekeeping in our bus part shop. takes a little while to mobilize that software and to configure it. So the items that have the longest mobilization periods, we want to prioritize those first. So we have the time to get it in place so it's ready to go on July 1st. So our staff recommendation is to authorize CEO to award agreements for goods and services necessary for insourcing of bus operations for the remainder of this fiscal year, subject to concurrence of the Chief General Counsel and ratification of the board. And the reason we're asking for this is it will essentially reduce the time for the award by 6 to 8 weeks per contract. So it's going to allow us to get these contracts executed and ready to go. Every contract we do execute through this authority will come back for ratification. So we will come back quarterly. All these services and contracts will be seen and ratified by the board. Fiscal impact initially, all of these services are currently covered by the MV contract currently. All we are doing is taking those services and directly contracting with these companies as opposed to having it flow through the MV contract. Most of these services, we will not even begin to use or receive an invoice actually into fiscal year 26. So think about it, like we need to have a contract in place, let's say, to have oil for buses, but we're not going to use any of that oil until after the MV contract expires, so into the next fiscal year. And so that will give us time to account for it in our fiscal year 26 budget. So for many of these items, we need to get the contract set up now, but there's not going to be any fiscal impact on the FY25 budget. That will all be accounted for in FY26 once the MV contract has ended, and then we pick up the service. And then the funding that would be in the MV contract, which right now, the MV contract in its totality is a little short of $51 million. That comes back to support our general bus operations. And so with that, I'll take any questions you might have on this item.
Thank you for that presentation, Nick. That's very, very informative. Suhail, do we have any public comments on item 14?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. At this time, public registration to speak on this item will end. Or do you have any questions? Board Member Hensy.
Thanks for the presentation. So it was very short and easy to understand. So it sounds like we're not going to analyze like the quality or the cost or the different discretionary characteristics of the things that we're taking over at this time, just so we can continue to fulfill those contracts. But I assume that once we've done that, we'll be able to be a little bit more discerning about what it is that we want to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're letting our own scopes. So we are writing our own scopes for all of these services. And so most of these, we'll be able to have a competitive process, and then that will go through. But you're absolutely right. We want to get as many services in place for July 1 so that we have the parts, materials, and services to adequately continue to run service, at that changeover. But then, yes, we'll have that time afterwards to then continue to refine. And for a lot of these contracts, we're looking at doing shorter terms initially, which will give us that ability to put it in place, have it ready to roll for July 1st, and then we can look at kind of the longer term picture and how we might be able to gain some additional efficiencies as well. Yeah, welcome.
Any other questions for Nick? Okay, well, with that, may I have a motion to approve other business item number 14?
Move approval? Second.
Motion by Hensy, second by Bhat Patel. Please vote.
On the motion of Board Member Hensy, seconded by Vice Chair Bhat Patel, to authorize the CEO to award specified agreements during the period from November 22nd, 2024 through to June 30th, 2025. Motion passes.
Thank you. Other business item 15 relates to the purchase of a property in Oceanside, which is located adjacent to the district's bus operations facility. Tracy Foster, NCTD Chief Development Officer, will present this item. Welcome, Tracy. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, board members. So a little bit first about our bus operations in Oceanside. In 1978, we acquired the property for our bus operation facility located in Oceanside, and we commonly refer to it as West Division. West Division is comprised of 4 parcels totaling 10.2 acres. Today, the site supports maintenance and operations for both revenue and non-revenue vehicles. And as many of you know, will be the home of our hydrogen fueling station that we broke ground on earlier this year. In addition to the maintenance buildings and infrastructure, there's also administrative buildings and a facility trailer that all of our staff consider as their home base. Employee parking at this facility is significantly constrained and results often in employees having to utilize street parking, which is often unavailable. In looking at the picture on the screen right now, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner is the only primary area for employee parking. Recently, a 2.7 acre parcel became available for sale, which is adjacent to our West Division. If you look at the picture on this screen, you'll see at the bottom left-hand corner the vacant parcel. It is zoned light industrial and was listed for sale for $6,020,000. Given our current site constraints that limit our operations and understanding that property opportunities such as this do not often come around, we jumped on it, and late last week, we executed a non-binding letter of intent with the sellers of the property. This letter of intent includes a negotiated price of $5.2 million, which is below the list price and was determined to be fair market value based upon our review and analysis of comparable sales, listings, and other offers that had been received by the seller. The terms of the LOI include a close of escrow upon board approval. And while we anticipate the site being utilized to support employee parking, if approved by the board today, a capital project would be formally developed in support of our bus operation needs. So with that, the staff recommendation is that the board authorize the chief executive officer to execute a purchase and sale agreement in an amount not to exceed $5,200,000 for the purchase of a 2.7 acre vacant lot located at the intersection of Jones Road and Benet Road in Oceanside, California. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Suhail, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
At this time, public registration to speak on item 15 will end. Board members, do you have any questions on item 15? Board Member Contreras.
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. This general area is extremely industrial, and it is, I appreciate taking into account employees having to park further away and walk. It's definitely not an area that's conducive to walking, and probably not an area that there's going to be, a lot of investment in that type of infrastructure. I think this is a great opportunity for an acquisition, especially so we can meet some of the more demanding timelines in the future for fleet conversion to renewables or zero emission fuels. So yeah, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and move approval of the staff if there's nothing else.
That's fine. A second by Jenkins, I'm seeing.
Oh, I have a
No?
question.
Okay, wait.
But yes, I'll second, but can I ask
Okay.
a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to, let me see, I'm looking this over here. We're using funds that we currently have, so it's a cash purchase?
It is.
Okay. And I see we did an internal valuation. Would it be prudent to do a formal appraisal or is that not done in transit? I mean, we do that within cities all the time.
It is normally done, but there's time constraints with this deal and competition on it. The valuation that we did, our real estate manager, Sarah, she has a former appraisal background. And so we did research in the databases of all of the listings and sales. And so likely an appraiser is going to be utilizing that same data. So that's why, and it is in accordance with our board policy.
Do you want to mention the FTA process also?
So the FTA process, we did have to we started with this process and we reached out to the FTA originally and received their approval for an exemption, a categorical exemption for the NEPA process and go through the appraisal process. Because of the time constraints, we had to put that to the side, but there still may be an opportunity to work with the FTA so that we can utilize federal funding in the future for this property and go through appraisal and an appraisal review with the FTA.
Yeah, I would say the important part of that review is anytime you want to utilize federal transit funds for maintenance or operations of our business in general, the FTA has to approve that we bought the property at fair market value, and they will evaluate that because what they don't want is a transit agency going in a bankruptcy scenario or some type of a short sale and pay cash on something really quick that's not at fair market value. So they're very specific about that through their process.
So follow-up question then. So that would be done after we've already purchased it, though?
That's correct.
Would be,
So
yes.
if it was proven, and I'm not saying it would.
Right.
I mean, almost 3 acres for 5 million is probably a good deal, but this is taxpayer money. So I'm just a little cautious, being conservative here, that, just seems like we should have maybe done a little more due diligence.
Yeah, but I would say I share that concern. I can only give you my personal experience that when property comes available near a transit center, typically due diligence will create a situation where we don't get it. And in this case, we're very fortunate to have a real estate department. And I would note that there was an original buyer of that land. We asked almost probably a year ago about whether or not we could purchase or lease that space. And we were told no. And at the time, the value of the property, well, the sale value was 6.1.
It was.
And so we were sort of anticipating that with the sale backing out, that we sort of looked into the fair market value before we gave an offer out there. The FTA is pretty specific. It's just got to be in the range. It doesn't have to necessarily be at a specific number. We just have to justify how we got to that fair market value number, and they'll move it. I do agree with you that that's always been a concern of mine in transit. I can tell you that we've lost properties at other places I've worked before because we tried to go through that process and somebody scooped in and bought it. As we expand, as we think about things, any property near a transit facility is pretty prime real estate for us. In fact,
And it'll only grow in value. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
bought it 5 years from now, it's going to be more. But
And
I just think the
competing-
due diligence is,
Yeah, competing offers
In the
on the
future.
property would have a shorter timeframe for close, which is what kind of pushed us up into having to move so quickly on this.
Yeah, I would say I totally agree with your comments, and it doesn't necessarily prohibit us from doing that currently. We're going to have to do that anyway through the FTA process. So, it's nice to be able to have the real estate group that we have internally because they can jump in and sort of make those determinations pretty quick for us, where normally it would probably take a week or two to get that information from a third party that we vendored with.
okay. I'll keep my second. I just wanted to probe.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments from board members? Having been recently to the West facility for the groundbreaking for the hydrogen facility, I can tell you it's very needed, very necessary, I think, to expand over there. I had challenges finding a parking space, even though there were supposed to be spaces, held for board members and for important people, more important than us, that were coming as our guests. It was still difficult to park there, and I could see people really hunting to have a place to park. So I think this is a good move, and I share your concerns, Sharon, but I do believe that it will continue to increase in value and that it's a good purchase. So with that, we have a motion by Contreras and a second by Jenkins. Please vote.
On the motion of Board Member Contreras, seconded by Board Member Jenkins, to authorize the CEO to execute a purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of a 2.71 acre lot located in Oceanside, California. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving now to item 16, Today, we will honor the longtime service of two outgoing NCTD board members. Mary Dover, NCTD Chief of Staff, will present this item. Mary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. No formal presentation, but we wanted to take this opportunity to recognize the distinguished service of two of our wonderful board members, Board Member Hinsey and Board Member Jenkins. Both have served on various committees, including the Ad hoc Rail Safety and Community Enhancements Committee. That really helped NCTD focus our efforts on community-driven projects that will benefit the folks that live on each of our rail lines. So we thank you for your leadership on those two committees. Board Member Hinsey's service as Vice Chair of the Marketing, Service Planning, and Business Development Committee, affectionately known as MSBDA, really provided staff with guidance to make sure that we're right-sizing our services so that it matches the community. So we thank you for your leadership on that. And also Board Member Jenkins, who served as the Vice Chair of the PAF Committee, Performance, Administration, and Finance. We love our acronyms. On that committee, she provided sound financial oversight and really made sure that she asked very diligent questions. So to the last minute, and we appreciate that. So we wanted to take this opportunity to thank you both for your service on our board. You will be sorely missed, but we hope you enjoy your future endeavors. We do have 2 plaques and 2 certificates for you that I'll allow the chair and CEO to present.
Okay, before we do that, I'd like to ask a question. Are there any public speakers on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, at this time, public registration to speak on this item will end. I'm going to start board comments because I've been here long enough or longer than everyone else, and I'm chair, so I can do that. So, board members are typically appointed in January. This means I've had the pleasure of serving with Sharon for a month shy of 6 years, and with Kelly for a month shy of 3 years. Both Sharon and Kelly replaced equally long-serving dedicated NCTD board members who were elected up to mayor of their respective cities. After their appointments, Sharon and Kelly jumped in with both feet, proving themselves as dedicated and hardworking as their predecessors. Sharon has served, as we have been informed, on the PAF and the executive committee since 2019. She took her role as vice chair of PAF seriously at budget time. Sharon could be counted on to dig in and ask important questions, even if she already knew the answers. Her actions helped inform fellow board members so that collectively we could provide detailed, appropriate direction to staff. When it came to hiring Matt's replacement, Sharon, actually the entire executive committee, did an outstanding job. So I was on that committee too, just so you know. But during that process, Sharon was my go-to person. You know, you have to have a person. We all have Brown Act stuff, so we had to divide. And I have to tell you, she rocked. It was great. We had a lot of communication, and it was a lot of effort to deliver a great new CEO. Kelly was the perfect fit on MSBDA. Her pre-council career and background greatly benefited the committee and the district, and when the RECE subcommittee was envisioned and formed, she filled a crucial role, as Mary mentioned, serving both NCTD and her city very well as RECE vice chair. Thank you. I just can't see enough positive things about these 2 strong, competent, capable women. So I'll close by saying how honored I've been to serve with you both, and thank you for your contributions and your friendship. So before I cry, other board members, if you have any comments, please go ahead. I'll start with Priya. Excuse me.
It's okay.
Vice Chair Bob Patel.
Gosh, how do I say it's not goodbye because you both are going to be around. I've served with you all for a while, whether it's been on this board or otherwise. And so Kelly and I think started at around the same time. Sharon, I know you were there prior to me, but I know I met you when I first started. And so it's been such a pleasure to work alongside both of you. It's been such an honor. You both have done immense amounts of work for your communities. And I know that for decades, people are going to see that. I know your daughters are going to see that in your own community. And so it's going to be hard to fill your shoes, I'm sure, especially. And I know NCTD is very thankful for all of the work that you all have done. And we know you're going to do great things regardless in your communities of whether you're in elected office or not. I think that's something that everyone should remember is regardless of if you're serving in an elected position or not, you can still serve your community. And I know you both embody that and you've done that with your service. So thank you so much for all you've done. We're going to miss serving with you, but I know it's not goodbye. We'll see you soon. So yeah, congrats.
Anyone else? Board Member Martinez.
I have laryngitis, so I apologize for that. As a new member on the board, I just want to say, Sharon, you were so welcoming and you have such a presence about you that I feel like if you stuck around, I could learn a lot more for you. So that's something to consider. But I know I know through my colleagues what service you've provided. So I just want to tell you I have gratitude to you for that. And my dear friend, I am so sad. We've served on several committees, and I just think the world of you. You have been an amazing public servant, and I wish you all the happiness and well-deserved time off with your new family. So thank you both for your service.
Well, I haven't been here a very long time either, but, and I tend not to say a lot of things unless I really have to say something, then I say something. Otherwise, I think I'm just wasting time. So I tend to keep my mouth shut. But one thing that I do is I pay attention to the questions that are asked because I say, oh, that's a good question. And that's how I learn. And I have definitely learned from both of you. You have more of a quiet spirit, but then your questions are like really like pointed, like to the point, like they're profound. And I've learned so much, and I think, and it was a surprise to me. I didn't know that, you were no longer going to serve. But, thank you so much for your service and your teaching without knowing that you are teaching me. And, well, I'm sure I'll run into you and be around, and, Jack in the Box being my favorite restaurant, we can always go.
Well, I guess I'll say something. I hope that I'm on this board at least long enough to get those nice comments from the chair when I can tell you this assignment's really coveted in our city, and we had a little arm wrestling for me to get here, so I hope I get to stay. But, I'm glad that you were both on here so I could observe the work that you do, and it does, like Board Member Garcia said, it does help make us better as we move forward in our tenure on the board. So thank you and best of luck to you both.
You didn't want to talk about yourself, Sharon? I just want to say thank you to you both. I've had the pleasure to serve with you in so many different capacities within this organization. And I want to say first and foremost, you really constantly look at how to make NCTD better so that it makes our communities better. That's something that I hope we can replicate in other spaces because we really need that. And if I say more, I'm going to cry, but I love you both.
So this item is purely information, so it doesn't require a vote. He's like, I'll let you talk in a minute. However, if a vote was required, I just want to say that mine would be to keep you both.
I would second that vote. I would second that vote.
Since that's not an option, I'll settle for again offering my gratitude and wishing you both of you, happiness and success in your future endeavors. Now, our CEO would like to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say, Lori and I have talked about this quite a few times, but, it was a big leap for me to leave a great job to come to this job. And one of the conversations that we've always had was, the reason that I really felt like this was a good spot for me was because of this board of directors. And I really felt like the energy was good, that the conversations were robust, that the board was pushing the agency by asking the right questions and doing things that required us to take it to the next level. And both of you have exemplified that in ways that I can't even really fathom. I've been fortunate to work on some great boards. I've been fortunate to work with some ones that don't. And the one thing I really love about this agency is that we sort of put all the other things aside to do what's best for the agency, even if it requires us to have tough questions, tough conversations, and really just sort of put it all out there. And I'm so very thankful for both of you. I would not, I don't think we would be in the space that we are today without our entire board, but specifically the work that both of you had done. And so I'm always just very thankful for that, and I hope that this isn't the end of conversations we're having about NCTD. I really think that we're going to need your input, and we're going to need some help on things that we can push forward. And so please don't be strangers here. We really want you to continue to be that voice for us and call us out when we need to be called out, and work with us to help build the future of what the agency is. So thank you very much for that. Lori, did you want to say something real quick?
I would, actually. I just want to thank you both as well, because I agree with Joe. I've learned a lot also from the two of you. The questions that you ask are very probing and relevant to the questions that are being presented here in the agenda items. But personally, I wanted to thank you both for your support as Chief General Counsel at NCTD. I have felt very supported by you, through the many years that we've been working together, and I felt that I could come to you more. You should be saying I came to you for guidance and direction, but I've also come to you for guidance and direction on things, and I have appreciated that. So thank you.
Yes. Are you gonna make me cry?
I don't think so. I have a little laryngitis too, so bear with me. And I just want to express my utmost respect for the staff and for all of you who work so hard to just deliver this amazing service for our county. I've just been time and again impressed at the professionalism and the insight and just the true passion that you have for what you do. I started my role in public service actually because of a rail project. Had to work really closely with Tracy on to work through these final details that kept us from breaking ground, and that was such an informative experience for me to just see how things actually happen. And that project, I got to attend the ribbon cutting as a mom. I had my daughter there with me, and she was 1 week old. And Ms. Contreras delivered the opening remarks in my place because I was on a leave. And I was just like having an out-of-body experience watching her speak, and the way that she talked about how this project, in being this rail undercross, will allow generations of students to be able to walk to school and bike to school, and it's become this gathering place for our community. So thanks to Tracy, thanks to Lori, thanks to everybody who worked together to get that project off the ground, because it was looking close there for a while. And to Katie, who came out and walked with me the stretch of Highway 101, and I shared with her this vision of how great it could be. And it was just so great to have another young person who was inspired by transit and getting people outside of their cars and getting around in another way. And to my board members, I just have so much respect for you, because this is not a job that you're able to do unless you have passion for it. It's really thankless in a lot of ways, and you end up really realizing that you've got to be a servant in this leadership role, and I see all of you embody that so much. So Jewel, you were one of the first people I met outside of my city who was serving as a council member, and you were such a mentor to me and showed me how to get around outside of Encinitas, which was not something I was really good at that time in my life. And Priya, we went to our first League of Cities conference together and figured out, you can't text from the dais during public comment, and this is how you don't break the law. And I've just learned so much from you too, and you've helped me a lot through my campaign. And Tracy, we met on Zoom, I think, for the first time, and it was dark days and not knowing how we were gonna kind of lead in that way. And it's been a pleasure to serve with you here and on our other committees as well. And Joe, you just have such a warm spirit about you, and the people of Escondido are really lucky to have you as their representative. And Rick, I heard you made some great jokes last night at the Oceanside City Council meeting, and I'd love to learn more about that side of you.
Can't take it all serious.
And Sharon, I remember meeting you at a League of Cities conference too, and you were just so warm, and it was, you were one of the first people I met who actually had the longevity in this role, and you weren't trying to seek higher office, you were really just trying to serve your community, and there's such a down-to-earthness about that. And yeah, I've learned so much from you. And Karina, gosh, you are just like a superstar, you're a shiro, you are just gonna do amazing things the way you're prepared to transform the world. And I loved listening to the way that you could think about the things that were, we had a yes or no decision a lot of times here, and you were like, it's not yes, it's not no, it's how can we do this better? How can we think about where we're trying to go and take the steps today to get there? So really such an inspiration, and I hope you never leave this role because you're just meant to make the world a better place, and I think you found your spot. So I thank all of you. I rode the coaster when I was in 4th grade. It was the inaugural ride, and my best friend's mom was the mayor, and I was like, does life get better than this? And still, whenever I ride the coaster, I have this feeling of like, this is a cool place, this is a cool service, and wow, how amazing it is that we all get to live in this county together and provide things that otherwise wouldn't exist without us. So thank you. It's a hard decision to leave, but I really want to be with my kids, so I got to do it. So thank you so much.
I think Sharon, would you like to say a few words?
Just a couple comments. I consider that we're not politicians, that we're public servants. And I've been doing this overall for 26 years, 12 of them on the city council. And this group has been one of the most positive experiences between the staff and the board members. We have different thoughts on many topics, but we always came together to do the right thing for North County Transit, and that's a sign of good governance, I think. I've had, I don't even know how many different board members over the 6 years, but between the board members and this amazing staff that's here is just something to be very proud of. So it's been a great experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have a little bit of bling for you guys. So much it takes 2 of us.
And if I could have a photo of both of you with your plaques wherever you'd like. We can do it after the board meeting, whatever you'd like. After, yeah. Yeah, right, I know, the city flags.
So now it's time for the chief executive's report. Mr. Donaghy, do you have any things to tell us?
Yeah, just a few. Again, just thank you for your service on the board, and always thankful for the work that's done in this room. And I agree that since I've been here, the one thing that I've seen is this group really comes together. We put all the other stuff off to the side, and we try to figure out, how best to serve our community. And so very thankful for that. One update from the federal side is we were notified the other day that Sean Duffy is going to be potentially the Secretary of Transportation. That still needs to go through a confirmation process. But right now, that's sort of the where we're at. He was very involved in some transportation items back when he was serving the first go-around in, I think, 2010 and 2018. So we expect much of the same. More to come on that front, I think, as the new year sort of hits upon us. We were at the Escondido Parade, the Veterans Day Parade, with our newly wrapped veterans buses. That was a great event. Had a great turnout, not only from staff, but I think from the folks in Escondido that come out every year. So it was really fun to be involved in that. It's nice to be out in some of these parades. Anytime we get asked to sort of jump into one, we do everything we can to get to it. We got a lot more planned for 2025. So Mary and the marketing team are really pushing forward with that. So looking forward to doing some more of those things. You may have seen this past weekend during our absolute work window on the rail, we had a full-scale exercise. I want to give Chris Carrillo, our Director of Security, a big shout-out. There's a lot of coordination that goes into that. We essentially take a coaster train down to Sorrento Valley. We have a few buses down there. We had law enforcement agencies, San Diego Police Department, a few other police agencies, our own Sheriff's Division, and the San Diego Fire Department. And essentially what we do is a requirement between FRA and FTA, but internally, we do these exercises to really get ourselves ready for if something happens, whether that's a weather-related event or whether that's a significant security event, and sort of how we handle those things in real time. And it was very engaging to be able to be with those law enforcement agencies or those first responder agencies and have conversations about how we can be a part of that, either in an evacuation scenario or things that may come up in the community. So it was fun to do that. The Charger user group, which is not the LA football Chargers. It's the Chargers that we have on the locomotives that we have on the coaster line. There's a group that meets a couple times a year, and we were able to host them here a few weeks ago. It's really always great to have groups that want to come in. They were actually in this boardroom here. It's always nice when people want to come and see what we're doing, especially in the industry. I think it speaks volumes of the staff that they want to come here and see the good work that's happening. So I want to appreciate them coming down. Again, thanks to everybody who came to the hydrogen station groundbreaking last month. That was an awesome event, not only for our employees, but to showcase the amazing work that our employees do. It's always nice to have those on the property, because I think folks that don't get an opportunity too much to come to that facility or any of our facilities and see what's happening, sort of get an open look at what's happening. We had a great conversation with Levin about really what we want to see from hydrogen, how we can sort of be a front runner in that, both on Sprinter Rail, but also in our bus service. And it was nice to get the commitment from that office that we can do some great things together. So I'm looking forward to that. I did want to take a minute to thank OCTA up the road from us in Secretary Omashakan for a great event in San Clemente where the state essentially gave quite a bit of money to the Low Sand Corridor for some resiliency upgrades. We have a portion of that. Our friends to the north have a portion of that, and Low Sand got a portion of that. So it was nice to go up to San Clemente and have that event. It was super early in the morning, but the views were pretty nice. I did start my speech off by saying usually this is the time where I thank you for coming to beautiful San Diego County, the most beautiful county in the world. But if we have to be somewhere, San Clemente will do. So, good turnout. Really nice to have all of our electeds there. So it was a great event. And I just want to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday week. And if you need anything from us, please, please, please let us know.
Thank you. Board members, do you have anything to report? Board Member Garcia.
So I had the distinct privilege to represent the city of Escondido at the National League of Cities this last week. That's why I wasn't at the Veterans Day Parade or any of the activities. I was in Tampa. And I now, because I'm on this board, spend a considerable amount of time riding public transportation. And I always want to compare it to what we have here. And I must say that it's nice, but not so nice. And I don't know why, but over there, they crank the AC and everything, the hotels, the restaurants, and the buses. And we rode the bus for an hour and a half from Tampa to St. Pete. And that's why I'm coughing, because I was freezing the whole time. But it was wonderful, and to be able to begin to enjoy public transportation, it was great. And but we have an incredible system here. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for seeing how good we are here. Yeah. Any other board member comments? No. At the LoSAN board meeting on Monday, the managing director reported that LoSAN is working with Amtrak to add capacity November 25th to December 2nd to accommodate historically heavy travel during the Thanksgiving week. The current number of daily round trips between LA and San Diego is 11. 13 daily round trips is the goal. There will also be complimentary checked baggage, and the station at OTC will be partially staffed. So that's all I have. Sue Hell, are there any remaining public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Great. At this time, public registration to speak has ended. Thank you all. The next scheduled meetings are the Executive Committee meeting, December 3rd, 2024 at 11 a.m. The regular board meeting, December 19th at 2 p.m. This meeting is adjourned in honor of Directors Kelly Hensey and Sharon Jenkins. Thank you, everyone.